What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my analysis of Legendary Elincia, the builds that you can run on her, and also my Wind Legendary tier list. So Legendary Elincia is a sword flyer who can boost up the resistance of your wind blessed allies, and she's got Absolute Amity as her preferred weapon. So this is a 11 might sword that does have the fixed Canto built in, so even after warping she's going to be able to Canto easily. And then this does have minus on special cooldown, and she's got the dual phase Brave effect without any kind of speed penalty or defense penalty, so that is really good. And then if she's within 3 spaces of an ally, then she can get +5 to all of her stats and can get even more attack and speed in the combat depending on the foe's maximum special cooldown count that is subtracted from 11 and then multiplied by 12. So the lower the cooldown of the enemy special, the more attack and speed she's going to be getting. Of course, this does mean that she's not going to be getting a lot of attack and speed against the high cooldown specials and the gambit users that we have seen nowadays. And then finally with this weapon, she's also able to get the null guard effect or the offensive tempo effect. So she's not going to be getting stopped by any kind of guard skill, which is really good for triggering special on her brave attack. Even though the condition of the weapon is pretty lenient by just having any kind of ally in 3 spaces, which is really easy to do with her Slotty skill or Slotsy skill, keep in mind that still you don't really want to go too deep into the enemy lines with something like extra movement or charge status from Legendary Hinoka, because if you go too far away from your allies, then you're not going to be having any kind of offenses or the null guard effect. Not the biggest issue, but still that's something you want to keep in mind. And then she has got Dragon Fang as her special, which is honestly not going to be that great of a special when you can just run Ruptured Sky or Moonbow and trigger it twice in a single round of combat, so those specials are just better. And then Attack Speed Clash 4 is a really good skill for her, giving her the attack and speed debuff neutralization and the extra offenses. And her Slot B skill is an amazing upgrade of Dive Bomb. So with aerial maneuvers, you're able to move to any space within 2 spaces of any kind of ally in 2 spaces. So this is basically what we have seen before many times on units like Rearm Tana and then Spring Sonia. So this kind of movement is going to be available to all of the melee flyers, I assume, because Dive Bomb is a melee flyer locked skill, so probably that is going to be the same for this skill. And then at start of combat, if both units and foe's HP is above half, then you can inflict -4 speed and defense debuff on the foe in the combat, and of course you get the Dive Bomb effect so that you can make your follow-up attack before they can counter attack. And this is really good with Legendary Elincia because she has got a brave weapon and she's going to be fast enough to get the quad attacks on many units. And with the null follow-up and the null guard effect in her weapon, she's going to be able to easily trigger her specials and do a lot of damage. Quad attacks are not really all that rare anymore as we have so many units that can do that, and also Rattle Catria and Winter Cordelia. But still having this inhittable Slot B skill which can enable you to just teleport within 2 spaces of any kind of ally and also gives you the Dive Bomb effect is really good for many of the melee flyers. A lot of the flyers would want to run Gambit 4 or Guard Bearing if they're a bit more bulky. But if you just want a player phase nuke, then aerial maneuvers is an amazing Slot B skill. And finally, we've got her Slotsy skill, which in my opinion is what makes her really good. So Heart of Crimea is her Slotsy skill providing the all movement guidance 4 to any kind of allies within 2 spaces. This is the 2-space teleportation that we have seen before on Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance, and this Slotsy skill basically combines both of these skills and even gives the teleportation to the cavalry units, which we don't really have any kind of guidance skill for. I mean, Ashe does do that the same thing with her opening retainer, but keep in mind that Ashe is not a flyer and she doesn't really have any kind of warping abilities like Elincia here or have Canto in her weapon, which allows her to position herself better after repositioning or using an assist on someone. And that's why Heart of Crimea is such a good skill, even though we have seen this before on Ashe on a free-to-play unit. And of course this does even more. So it has got the Omni -4 rain effect built in for 4 spaces near her, which is really good for providing the debuff in the combat for your allies and also for herself. And then finally at start of turn, if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she can grant herself and them the null follow-up status. And this is really good because it is, again, not restricted to any kind of movement type. Flyers, Cavaliers are all going to be able to easily get the null follow-up status from Elincia and then teleport with this skill. So this is an amazing support skill that Legendary Elincia has got. And the best thing about this is that it is going to be available to support any kind of movement type. We have seen this many times that many of the support skills only give the support to certain movement types, And that is not the case with Heart of Crimea, because you don't really have to choose between Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance to be run on her, as she just has the all movement guidance in this weapon. So having this kind of support role compression in this skill is what makes her really good. And overall, she is going to be a good unit to have for just giving the null follow-up to your cavalry and flying units, which do have a bit harder time getting the null follow-up effect, and also providing teleportation to everyone. And we can see her in action when we also saw her stats there, and that animation is really clean. So that is going to be Legendary Elincia, who is a pretty good win legendary unit. I wouldn't really say that she is insane, but she's definitely pretty good because of the support that she brings. Having, again, that kind of Omni support for any kind of movement type is really good. And obviously, she's going to be amazing in Arena, where we have a lot of flyer favored maps. So she's going to be enabling the teleportation, which is really helpful for your other teammates. And she herself does have pretty good mobility and the hit and run potential because of Canto 2 in her weapon. And she's also going to be useful in summoner duels, especially if you don't have any kind of Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance unit. And if you do, then she's going to be another unit who can enable that kind of teleportation. So she's a really versatile unit because she can be used with any kind of team composition. So the flexibility that her Sortie skill enables is going to be helpful for summoner duels for sure. And also for Aetherite's offense, if you just want to give null follow-up status to some kind of tank. And teleportation can always be helpful just to get around. And in Aetherite's defense, I don't think we're going to be seeing her too much because we already have stuff like Battle Catria with Guidance 4 and stuff like that. So it's not exactly the place where Legendary Elincia is going to be seeing the play, but pretty much in any other game mode that is competitive, or even if it's not competitive, she's going to be providing good support and also having good mobility. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have any kind of damage reduction piercing with her weapon, which can be troublesome against a lot of the damage reduction foes or just bulky opponents. But the good thing is that at least she has got the null guard effect, so she can trigger her specials. And if you want to have the damage reduction piercing, then she could be supported with Legendary Female Elier. And Legendary Female Elier does appreciate the null follow-up status from her and also the teleportation, but it can only be done in the fire season for something like Aether Raids or for Arena. But in something like Summoner Duels or Aether Raids Chaos, they can easily be run together. And she can also be used with another really good flying legendary unit in Legendary Hinoka. And in that case, she can just run a higher cooldown special like Luna because she does have the offensive tempo in her weapon. So she can easily trigger Luna on her Brave hit, which is going to be doing a lot of damage. So Legendary Elincia is a pretty good win legendary unit, providing the flexible support to any kind of ally, and she does have good mobility herself, being a flying unit and also having a pretty good base kit. Now if you're going to be trying to build her up, then you can just run Moonbow or Ruptured Sky as her special, as it is going to be triggering on her Brave attack, which is ideal so that you can finish off the enemies instead of having a longer cooldown special like Dragon Fang, which needs you to quad. So the Null Guard is really helpful for that, and you can just run Attack Speed Catch, Blade Session, or even Attack Speed Form as the Sacred Seal. For the people who don't really play Summoner Duels, it might seem a bit weird to put Guard Bearing 4 on the Summoner Duels builds on a unit with like 23 base defense, but hear me out. The reason why we run Guard Bearing 4 or Gambit on melee flyers with Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance is because you can basically have better survivability with them, because they can get a lot of damage reduction out of these skills, and they can basically use this to frontline better, especially when they're covered by some kind of far safe tank or a support unit like Fallen Maria or Summer Ymir, and this allows them to basically extend the range of their team. And because they have this kind of teleportation skill, the more they extend their own movement, the more movement is extended for your entire team because they can warp. As long as you're not facing Gatekeeper or Legendary Mirror, of course. And those are going to be the units that shut down, this kind of teleportation, but still, that's pretty much the reason why Guard Bearing 4 can be good on her, because she can still get that 60% damage reduction in the enemy phase and 30% damage reduction in player phase. Gambit with Miracle might also seem like an option for many people because she can get 10 true damage per hit. But I wouldn't really say that it's the best thing for Summoner Duels because she does appreciate having a bit higher damage reduction with Guard Bearing 4. So unfortunately, Elincia's Gambit is not going to be providing the most amount of damage reduction that she really needs for surviving. And she can just survive many of the melee opponents by having this kind of damage reduction and then killing them back with Ruptured Sky and her Brave attack. And the Null Guard definitely helps with that. So that's the reason why you can run Guard Bearing 4 on her. And if you don't really care too much about Summoner Duels, then you can just run Aerial Maneuvers, which is her really good skill, and Guard Bearing 4 is pretty much for like Summoner Duels. And if you're going to be using her at max investment or high investment, then you can even give her Flared Sparrow, which is going to be just helping her even more for her melee nuking by setting up that flame terrain and also getting that 7 damage on the enemy before her first hit, so that's also an option for the player phase nuking. And now let's take a look at my win legendary tier list. So I would put Legendary Elincia in tier 1, and in my opinion she's the best win legendary at the moment in the game because we don't really have high ceiling for like win legendary units, and Legendary Elincia brings amazing support with her Sortie skill, with the Omni teleportation and the null follow-up, which is of course going to be amazing for arena usage where all of the maps are flyer favored, and same goes for summoner duels where pretty much on any kind of map, you know, flyers are going to be having a good time. So Legendary Elincia is a pretty good unit, and she herself has good mobility. And then I would put Legendary Yuri because he is basically a range infantry unit with 3 movement, and the fact that he has got foul play and the fixed canto is just adding to his utility. So again, hit and run is amazing for arena, and he does have access to new tools now with Disarm Trap 4, Desperation 4, Flash Barrow, and also Physical Null Follow-up. So it's not going to be the easiest to pre-charge him like the original version of Yuri, but still he's a pretty strong unit with his weapon and his preferred Sortie skill. And tier 1 is going to be ending with Legendary Veronica, and I still remember when she used to be the best win legendary unit, but I do think that she has fallen off a bit because of the speed creep that is going on in the metagame, and with the null counter Disrupt 4, and also speedy far safe tanks like Brave Female Korin, and she has gotten a new tool in Flared Sparrow, which is definitely amazing for mage cavalry nuke like her. Don't get me wrong, she's still really good, but it's just that she's not as good as she was when she came out, which is kind of natural at this point. And she also can run Escape Route and Fury to pretty much get the fixed Canto 1 movement in arena because the Fortress skill doesn't really score 300 SP, so that is something that she can also do. And then tier 2 starts off with Legendary Mirror, which is absolutely no surprise because she's got Warp Bubble in her Sortie skill, and she has also gotten new tools over the time like the Scout skill, Counter Roar, and Guard 4, so that all helps her tank a bit better in something like Summoner Duels and also in Arena. But for the other game modes like Aether Raid's offense and defense, Gatekeeper is just better at blocking the warping because of his support and then giving even more support at that. So Legendary Mirror is always helpful when we have this amount of warping shenanigans in the metagame, and of course, this banner itself introduces Legendary Elincia with the teleportation, so Warp Bubble is definitely pretty nice to face her in something like Arena. And then I also have Legendary Eliwood in tier 2, even though like his support has aged a bit because of Defense Res Ploy 3 disabling bonus doubler straight up. Even though his support is not really as insane as it used to be before, it is still a pretty good support to have, and especially the fact that he gives Canto 1 and also Null Panic at the same time. And the ploy status that we have seen now does make it a bit more annoying for something like Aether Raids, but in Arena and also in Summoner Duels he can still work out, and that is going to be the end of tier 2. So these are the top 5 win legendary units in my opinion, and then the tier 3 is going to be starting with Legendary Female Byleth. She's also one of those units who has gained tools over the time to make herself better, like Special Spiral 4, Flare, Remote Sparrow, and now even Attack Speed Pledge, which is something that you can use in Summoner Duels if you're a big fan of her and just get rid of her Sortie skill, but that is again only a Summoner Duels thing, and outside of that she can just run Goddess Bearer to get the null follow-up and also have the attack buff from that. And the fact that she can give drive tempo is still pretty unique. We don't really have any other unit who can do that, so her support and nuking is definitely helpful. And then we have got Legendary Sigurd. Even though it is past his prime days on the Pathfinder teams, he's still helpful in Arena and in other game modes with Holy Knight Aura, and also the fact that he does have access to more tier 4 slot B skills now, so that could be run in Arena instead of running his preferred slot B skill, which doesn't really do too much for him. And then we finish off tier 3 with Legendary Lucina, who even though is a really old legendary unit who doesn't even have the pair up effect, she can still be a good unit to be used in Arena because of her Future Vision 2, which just enables more movement options, which is absolutely amazing for a game mode like Arena, where you're forced to run high scoring assist like the Rally Plus skills and Harsh Command Plus. So having that movement assist is definitely helpful, and she's also gotten Physical Null Follow-up, which does make it a bit better for her to nuke with the damage reduction shredding. Starting tier 4 off, we do have Gunthra here, and she's also a pretty old legendary unit, and she is a Mage Cavalier, so the threat range that she has got can be helpful in arenas just so that you can force the enemy to, you know, loop with their rally skills and such. And she can definitely hit hard with the debuffs that she can do, but unfortunately she can only pierce through the damage reduction, And just like any kind of other Cavalier, she does have access to Flared Sparrow now, which also helps her in the nuking if you're a big fan of her. And tier 4 is going to be finishing off with Legendary Micaiah. So Legendary Micaiah unfortunately doesn't really have the greatest weapon, even though it can, give her extra attack and also have the effective damage on armor and cavalry units. Keep in mind that we have many annoying infantry units now as well, which are going to be giving her a lot of trouble. And, this kind of weapon is a bit weird with her middling speed and not having -1 special cooldown. So I really hope that she can get her remix and refined soon, but it is going to be taking a while. And Prescience is also not the best preferred skill, and a lot of times she's just going to be wanting Special Spiral 4 to pierce through the damage reduction. And one of the new tools that she has got, which she can support the team with, is definitely Defense Exploit 3 that she can run to just disable the enemy's bonus doubler if you're running into a lot of Legendary Illywoods in the wind season, or if you run into Legendary Male Robins in the earth season when it's coinciding. But other than that, she's probably going to be falling even more because it is going to be getting a lot more intense as the game progresses with the nukes and everything. And then tier 5 is going to be starting with Legendary Female Corin. So another one of those units that is going to be due for a remix and refine, and is definitely going to be a lot earlier. And she's likely going to be getting a remix in January 2024. And after getting the remix, she's going to be a lot better. And she's also gotten a new tool in Counter Roar, which is going to be providing her with the damage reduction and the damage reflection. So that is a pretty good option now to be run on her. And then we also have Reed here. So Reed can be bulky with his weapon, but unfortunately we have two other Sword Cavaliers in the Wind Legend category that just are better than him. And when it comes to an enemy phase Cavalier, Legendary Selif just blows him out of the water. But at least he has got Alarm Attack Defense as a new tool now to get the Kanto in Arena. And then we're going to be finishing off this tier list with Legendary Lyn. So Legendary Lyn unfortunately is not going to be scoring that high in Arena because she wants to run Laws of Decay 2 instead of the Dual Force skill. And even though she can work out as a nuke at max investment with physical null follow-up, it's just the fact that her stat spread kind of holds her back because she's not the fastest unit and the speed creep is going crazy. So it is going to be a bit hard for her to double. And the fact that she's in the Holo forms does make it a lot easier to get the premium skills to make her even better as a unit. But unfortunately, there are just so many nukes that do the job better than Legendary Lyn. And it is going to be getting even harder for her in the future if we get a lot more speedy Farsafe tanks or speedy tanks in general. So that is going to be my Wind Legendary tier list. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this and how would you rank these units. And if you're going to be summoning on this banner, then the red pool has got an amazing color stacking value with Fallen Crom and also Legendary Hinoka. And I would say that Legendary Hinoka is even a better unit than Legendary Elincia. And she's just absolutely amazing with flying units, providing them with the charge status and the special charge status. And she herself is an amazing nuke. And then we also have Fallen Crom, who can provide Arcane Devourer, which is easily one of the best arcane weapons that we've gotten. And he himself can be really good with his assist and Gale Force in something like Ether Raid's offense. And he also has good fodder with Attack Speed Clash 4, the Tier 4 Sabotage skill, and also Infantry Speed Tactic. So the red color is absolutely stacked with the value it provides. And then the second best color is probably colorless because of Fallen Maria and Goto. So Fallen Maria is still an amazing support unit. And then we have a bit of a fall off with Blue and the Green Pool. Blue is still decent because Gallium can function as a pretty good near save tank, and he does have Vengeful Fighter 4. And Noah's support is also pretty unique, providing the dot status and the foe buff neutralization effect, which is useful on any kind of speedy Omni tank. And then finally we've got the green color, which is definitely the most lackluster because all of the units are pretty old and they don't really provide as much value in terms of the fodder or even in the combat. And the next month we're going to be getting a new Halloween seasonal banner, so that is something that you can look forward to. And there's likely going to be a double special heroes banner that is going to be having Bright Tiki, Spring Bernie, New Year Pan, New Year Hana, and more. So that is also going to be another banner that people can look forward to. And then finally at the end of next month, we're probably going to be getting a new Dark Mythic. At the very least, it is going to be a Mythic. I'm not sure if it is going to be Dark Season or not. Dark seems a bit more likely because it has almost been a year since we have gotten a Dark Mythic unit. The last one was Emblem, and she definitely, shake things up really hard with Light Season and, the things that worked in that season. So I do think that we could have a new Dark Mythic unit that is probably going to be blue because Freyr is being rerun for the very first time. And we're also going to be having the color sharing with legendary female Shez, who's also really amazing. So New York could be the blue dark mythic unit next month, or it could just be some other unit from the mainline games because he might suffer the same fate as Fafnir or Bruno. So that is also something that can happen. And the red pool is going to be probably having Felix and Fallen Female Violet. And Rearmed Alcris is going to be the rearmed unit for the next month. So this is pretty much what you can expect out of the next month's mythic banner. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FE videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Shadows of Valentia Pala after seeing Legendary Elincia. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.